Joining us now is Timothy Carpenter, former head of the FBI's art crime team and currently the managing director of Argus Cultural Property Consultants. Timothy is also the author of The Grabe Robber, the biggest stolen artifacts case in FBI history and the Bureau's quest to set things right. Tim, thanks so much for joining us. First, just curious to get your reaction. It seemed like what happened in Paris inside the Louvre was more apropos for a set in Hollywood.
Yeah, Lindsay, thanks for having me on. And, I've heard that comparison a lot in the last 2 days, right? That this is kind of a Thomas Crown affair, Hollywood-esque heist. And it certainly has the hallmarks of that. The reality, though, is that this is fairly typical for museum heists, particularly across Europe. We've seen quite a few of these in recent years. The fact that they did strike right at opening kind of fits with the standard modus operandi. We've seen that historically over the last couple of decades, that thieves do prefer that time because, as your correspondent said, that's right when the museum is getting open for business. They're settling in for the day. And of course, the alarm systems have generally been disabled.
In your experience, what's the likelihood that these objects will be recovered and that the suspects or the thieves will be captured?
Well, I think the likelihood today is still quite high. We're very familiar with our partners over in France and their law enforcement capabilities. They're quite good at what they do. And I know that this is going to be an all hands on deck issue for them. And they're going to roll out every resource that they have at their disposal. And so I think the chances are quite high that they'll be successful.
And you were just mentioning this as well as James. This heist happened in broad daylight while the museum was open. What does that tell us about the thieves and the security at the Louvre once people are going in and out and going through the Louvre?
Well, again, I think part of their plan was to wait until the alarms had been disabled. And then, today, right, people go for their phones. When they see a crime occurring, their natural reaction is to reach for their phone and not actually interfere with the crime or try to prevent it in some way. So I think the thieves were banking on that response.
Stealing high-profile pieces such as these would be extremely difficult to resell, it would seem, or move without getting caught. Why do you think that these pieces in particular were targeted?
Well, it's a great question, and it's on everybody's mind today, right? We've seen in past years, thieves tended to target artwork, two-dimensional pieces, paintings, prints, works on paper, those kinds of works. Those are exceedingly difficult to move into the market stream because everyone knows they're stolen. Now, in this case, everybody knows that these jewels are stolen as well, but the risk here, right, is that the thieves will break these pieces apart, individualize the gemstones, and move them into the market stream just based on their inherent, value that they have as gemstones or precious metals. So that's certainly a risk here.
Can you take us through the steps that investigators are taking right now to find the thieves and get these objects back?
Sure. I'd be reluctant to comment too deeply on what the authorities there are doing, but I think in general, right, you would expect, of course, they're going to be combing through all of the evidence they got, looking for good forensic evidence. And I think the thieves made some mistakes, right? They left quite a bit of material behind. So I think they're going to be successful at finding that forensic evidence. They're also going to be doing wide scope CCTV camera searches, and not just around the museum, right? They're going to be looking all throughout the city, border crossings into other countries, and et cetera. And they're going to, I think, spend quite a bit of time looking at the museum itself, right? So some internal staffing, vendors, contractors, that kind of stuff. They're going to look at patterns, what was going on inside the gallery space, not only the day of the theft, but days, weeks, and months leading up to the theft. Because clearly this crew was well informed and had probably canvassed and visited this gallery a number of times. And then ultimately, this case, like many, may just rely on good tips and information from the public.
Do you suspect at all that it may have been an inside job?
Well, again, I don't have all the relevant facts of the investigation, so I'd be reluctant to speculate on that. I will tell you that FBI statistics have been pretty consistent for decades on this, that a large percentage of all museum thefts have some element of insider information, some insider threat. It's generally a misplaced trust issue, again, so whether that's staff or if it's contractors, maintenance folks, or vendors, but it tends to be some kind of insider threat.
Tim Carpenter, appreciate your time. Thanks so much.
Thanks for having me.